Hi, AsiaOne.
Hello, AsiaOne.
Hello, AsiaOne.
Hello, AsiaOne.
I don't think we've experienced the kind of hardship that the character in my film had to go through.
It's a privilege for us to be sharing this series of short films to pay tribute to them. And it's also a privilege for us to be working with a group of highly talented writers and directors.
When we started to conceive this idea of films, it is really about storytelling. We want it to be in three aspects. One is to really thank them for their contribution. The second part is really through their stories, through their eyes, bring out, the development of Singapore in various areas. The third one, I think very, very important, is really about identity and value. Really about the resilience, the tenacity, and I would say the hope.
When we first started working on the script, and then obviously it was about the first few batches of men who went through national service. So and then you're talking about Merdeka Generation. So obviously my head was like, wait, I think my dad's in that in that category. He did share some interesting stories. But this is specifically just with my dad. Like I think he was higher school certificate or something. That was the term they used there. And I think he was supposed to enter this certain batch, but then he had some medical delays. So he entered a different batch as well. So I think he entered a batch where it was like a Hokkien speaking platoon or things like that. And I guess just on the educational front, I think he was probably the most educated of that platoon. And so I guess straight off the bat, that was really odd one out kind of thing.
It's always interesting and it's fun to have these opportunities to kind of prod them to share their stories and to get a bit of insight into what it was like growing up and some of the struggles or challenges they might have had.
From my side, I think a lot of times they only tell you what they want to tell you, right? Yeah, and the funny part is the stories always get repeated. Like I'm 35, so it's like past 35 years you've been telling me these stories. So it's very interesting, like now I have to go back and ask them again.
That at least gave me a very personal insight into that experience. And knowing that it's from my dad obviously is a different layer. You read about someone, what they went through, like, oh, that's crazy. But when you read about this person and finding out this person has been, the one who raised you, you live with this guy for like 20 how many years in the same household, it changes your perspective on things.
And actually what strikes me is not so much the differences. Of course there are differences, but also the similarities. I think we don't realize what we go through now, sometimes our parents may have gone through before, or our grandparents have gone through before, but, to an even greater degree. And there's such wisdom to be learned from them.
So for me, I actually know of a lady who had to give up school actually at secondary 1 or secondary 2 level to sell magazines so that her siblings could go to school, and she had to start earning money for her family. And it must be such a tough thing, especially if you love school and if you excel in it. And I think if you're a good student and you see the promise in studying and where it can bring you to have to give that up, to give up a dream, I think it's a very painful thing.
There was one story one night, very specifically, he remembered, where they were woken up in the middle of the night to kena tekan like in a parade square or something at night, and they were drenched and stuff. And then I think that was the night when they realized it's a team thing. It's not just, you don't just fight for yourself. Anyone's failings or anyone's mistakes also would affect the entire team. So how that forced them to fight as a platoon and look out for each other.
It's about the whole kampong spirit. I think that was something where it was very communal then, where you can just go into anyone's compound, anyone's house. There were no locks. Like one house would have a TV, everyone would be watching it. One house would have a radio, and then, so it's like always there'll be a bunch of neighbors always watching something.
A lot of the films are actually about relationships. Intergenerational, intercultural, and how do you build those bonds? And I think that's a very important. That's something very important that they've done and that they continue to teach. Us and the future generations.